What if I told you that Nefer is the 4th strongest DPS in the game? Or is she? So here's everything you need to know about Nefer at the moment. Nefer is a Dendro DPS from Nordcry whose best teammate, just like everyone expected, is Loma. But before we discuss her kit, let me first mention her general rotation, which will help you understand her kit better. You begin by pressing the skill button, followed by normal and charge attack 3 times, and then repeat the entire thing from the beginning once more. Another rotation of hers is skill, followed by holding the left mouse button till she does 3 charge attacks, and then you press the skill button again while still holding the left mouse button, and then once again you wait for 3 charge attacks to occur. Now, I know most of you didn't register that, so I'm gonna have this rotation on screen while explaining her kit, cause that will make it easier to understand. And with all that being said, let's get right into it. Starting off with her passive, the first one just changes normal gloom reaction to lunar gloom and increases its base damage by 14%. And if you don't know, Lunar Bloom is essentially the same as Bloom, but along with just the Bloom cores, you also get a stack of something called Dews, which can be used by character abilities. The next passive of hers is kind of weird, cause after you press her skill, you enter an enhanced state, which we will discuss later, but the key point is that all Dendro cores on field or the ones formed while she is in this state are converted to something called seeds, and these can be collected by using her charge attack. Do note that these seeds cannot bloom, burgeon or hyper bloom. So yeah, these are an explosive thing for Nefer at the moment. Another thing to note is that this passive is racist as it's Ascendant Gleam, meaning it requires 2 Nordcry characters in the party to be activated. Moving on to her skill, which by default has 2 charges. So when you press the skill button, Nefer enters an enhanced state for 9 seconds in which her charge attack is converted to a special charge attack if the party has at least 1 Dew. Now this special charge attack is the real shit, as this is the source of most of Nefer's damage, and without it she is absolutely useless. So doing this charge attack summons a shade which does 3 hits of Lunar Bloom damage, while Nefer herself does 2 hits of Dendro damage. Do note that each special charge attack consumes 1 Dew and absorbs all the seeds on field, granting her 1 stack of something called Veil per seed absorbed for up to 3 stacks. And each stack of Veil increases the damage dealt by her special charge attack by 8%, meaning it caps out at 24%. Moving on to her burst, which is just a big AoE Dendro attack and nothing more. Do note that if you do have Veil stack, then all of them will be consumed to increase the burst damage. Now, before we discuss her last passive, we first need to discuss her normal charge attack, which is a quality of life thing where Nefer starts sprinting with a green aura around her with no movement speed increase, therefore making it an absolutely useless quality of life feature. But that's not the end of it. You see, her third passive makes this charge attack sprint kinda useful, cause while she is in this state, her Dew generation speed is increased by 10% for every 100 points of EM she has above 500, capping out at 50%. And this ties into her rotation, cause you see, when you hold the charge attack button, she'll either sprint when she has no Dews or do the special charge attack when she does have them. So essentially all you need to do in a rotation after pressing E is to hold the charge attack button, and that's it. However, this rotation is obviously not applicable with units like Yelan or Xingqiu, cause you gotta do normal attacks in between to generate Dews. So to summarize her kit, you begin the rotation by using your support abilities, followed by Nefer's skill to enter the enhanced state, then you hold the charge attack button, making her sprint when she has no Dews or do the special charge attack when she does have them. After 3 such attacks, press the skill button again to re-enter the enhanced state while still holding the charge attack button, and wait till she finishes doing the 3 special charge attacks. If your team, however, has a unit which can't apply Hydro from off-field without normal attacks, then the rotation changes to skill, charge attack, 1 normal attack to apply Hydro, repeat this 2 more times, and then repeat the entire rotation beginning from the skill once more. And if you have been enjoying this video so far, then a sub to the channel would make you win every 50-50. And if you want to support even more, scroll 2 inches down this video and click the subscribe plus button to join the channel memberships and gain exclusive perks like directly DMing me on Discord or even a Genshin account review. So now that we understand her kit, it should be obvious that her talent priorities are skill, burst, and not leveling up the normal attacks. Moving on to her weapons, her signature is obviously the best in slot as it provides a lot of crit damage from the substat, and from the passive you get 80 EM and 24% crit damage, and these buffs are multiplied by 1.5 when you activate them, thus making this weapon her best choice. Another solid option is Loma's weapon, but to be honest, this weapon is better used on Loma instead of Nefer.
You can also use other EM or crit damage based 5 stars like Star Caller, Sunday Morning Sleep-In, Floating Dreams, Tome of Eternal Flow, or even Kagura. As for her best 4-star options, there is a new weapon coming out in 6.1 named Dawning Frost, which is quite broken as it provides 120 EM at R1 and 240 EM at R5. The best 4-star weapon, however, for which you don't have to pull is the Nordcry craftable weapon, as it provides a 48% Lunar Bloom damage bonus. Other solid 4 stars are Sacrificial Jade, with Sith, or Aetherlight. The full list of her weapon rankings is displayed on screen. Moving on to her artifacts, her best set is obviously the 6.0 DPS set, but if for some reason you don't have it, then you can put her on 4-piece Gilded or a 2-piece EM set or the Hunter set if Furina is in the team. As for the stats, EM Sands, EM Goblet, and crit damage Circlet are what you're looking for, as most of her damage scales off of EM. You can also use an EM Circlet if it has some really insane crit stats on it. Do note that Dendro damage Goblet is useless for her, so don't use it as it's literally providing nothing for her. Now before we discuss teams, let's discuss constellations. Constellation 1 just increases the Lunar Bloom damage dealt by her special charge attack by 60% of her EM, and since she does 3 hits, the effective increase is 180% of her elemental mastery. Constellation 2 enhances the effect of her passive by increasing the number of veil stacks to 5, and instead of gaining 100 EM at 3 stacks, she now gains 200 EM at 5 stacks. This also increases the buff to special charge attack by 12%, making it 40 when previously it was 24. Constellation 3 is just 3 levels to skill. Constellation 4 makes it so that while she is in her special skilled state, nearby enemies will have their Dendro res decreased by 20% and the due generation speed will be increased by 25%. Constellation 5 is 3 levels to burst and is Nefer's worst constellation. Constellation 6 allows Nefer to deal more instances of Lunar Bloom damage by converting one of the Dendro hits in her special charge attack to Lunar Bloom and having an additional Lunar Bloom hit at the end of the original 5 hits. On top of that, Lunar Bloom damage is increased by 15% when there are 2 Nordcry units in the party. Overall, I'd say that most of her constellations are really valuable besides C4 and C5. So now that we are done with that, let's discuss teams. And if you have been listening to what I have been yapping, you would know that Nefer requires Ascendant Gleam for her kit to be activated, as well as a Hydro unit who can apply enough Hydro to generate 6 dues. As such, her best teammates, just like everyone expected, are Lauma and Aino. Lauma in specific provides multiple buffs to Lunar Bloom damage while also shredding Dendro res, as well as being counted as the second Nordcry unit in the party, therefore making her an invaluable unit in Nefer's teams. Aino is another solid teammate for her, at least until Columbina arrives, and she only gets better with constellations, especially C1 and C6. As for the final slot, Nahida is looking to be the best one, as her burst provides EM to the on-fielder, therefore making Nefer do more damage. But this team doesn't have a sustainer, and because of that becomes really hard to play. So in my opinion, you'd be better off replacing Nahida with a sustainer like Zhongli, who provides Rush Red and a meaty shield. Other options are Diona, who provides EM through her C6, or Baiju, who provides Lunar Bloom damage through his passive. But keep in mind, these units will increase the team's rotation time, therefore making them suboptimal choices. You could also just use plain healers like Barbara, Siegeween, or Kirara, but these are obviously not doing anything besides healing. The best option in my opinion here is Cookie, because she provides healing, has a short field time, and can use the instructor set to buff Nefer's EM. Now, you can also replace Aino instead of Nahida with Kokomi, but obviously Kokomi has some limitations like the enemy moving out of the jellyfish's range. You could also choose to replace both Nahida and Aino with the pairing of Furina and Innefa, but this team will require you to burst with Innefa every rotation to activate her shield, thus increasing her ER requirements, while Furina will keep the team at 50% HP, therefore making it hard to survive. But to be honest, both of these units are better off used in other teams instead of with Nefer. Now if you don't have Lauma, then you can replace her with Nahida while still keeping Aino and one of the sustainers I mentioned before in the team. But if you don't have Nahida as well, then I'd suggest just waiting for Lauma's rerun. Now what if you are a freaky player and want to play her with Xingqiu or Yelan and weave normal attacks in between? And well, you can do that, but the rotation will be longer, the team DPS will be less, and the team will feel really annoying to play. So now that we understand everything about her, there are some major issues with her, with the first one being skill issue. And I'm not kidding when I say that, because you see, Nefer's best team at the moment is Nefer herself, Lauma, Aino C6, and Nahida. Now in this team, there
are no healers or shielders, which makes this team super squishy and not at all practical to use cause you'll die anyway. And that's why I said skill issue, cause maybe if you are a pro at this game then you can easily use this team while not dying. But for the average player, this team honestly does not exist cause first of all you need Ino C6, which I don't think most people have, and second requires insane levels of pro gameplay. And this is why in the beginning I said that maybe she is the fourth strongest DPS, cause in this team, yes, the team DPS is really strong. However, this team is only theoretical and not really practical, cause in a real team you would probably replace Nahida with units like Kuki, Kokomi or even Diona, since those units actually help the team in staying alive. But obviously since you are replacing Nahida with a sustainer, the team DPS will go down accordingly. One method which people suggest using in this team is Nahida on prototype Amber, which I'll be honest is just Copium Ultra Pro Max. And speaking of team DPS going down, we have to talk about Nefer's reliance on Lauma, without whom her damage falls off a cliff. Cause Lauma not only provides 25% rest rate from her skill, but also 10% crit rate and 20% crit damage to Lunar Blooms from her passive, along with a rough total of 300,000 increase to Nefer's damage from her burst, while also being the second Nordcry unit in the team, which enables both her and Nefer's kit, as well as enabling the artifact sets along with the Nordcry resonance. So yeah, she is literally doing all the heavy lifting in this team, and you could technically say never play her without Lauma. But anyway, to put all that in simple percent terms, 25% less damage from the team and 80% less damage from Nefer if you don't have Lauma's buff. With all this being said, my biggest gripe with her is the fact that she does not have a nose, which makes her totally unplayable.